Welcome back and thank you for staying with Channels, and Sunrise continues. There are an estimated 25 million people living with disabilities in Nigeria, perhaps due to the 8-year-long acts of insurgency in the zone. The Northeast hosts the highest number of persons with disabilities, with the Southwest having the lowest number. The Silver Jubilee of the observance of International Day of Persons with Disabilities was marked on the 3rd of December 2017. The annual observance of the International Day of People with Disabilities was proclaimed by the United Nations General Assembly in 1992. It is saddening that while 8 states, including Lagos, Ekiti, and Plateau, have all passed the disability bill, 2 presidents have twice refused to assent the National Disability Bill as passed by the National Assembly, while ongoing efforts since 2015 seem to have been stalled after the Harmonization Committee of the National Assembly adopted the Senate version on December 6, 2016. The bill has been declared missing. Oh, oh dear. We have in the studio the Director, Anglo-Nigerian Welfare Association for the Blind, Mr. Danlami Basharu. Good morning, Danlami.
Good morning.
We haven't seen you in a while.
Yes, I've taken on a different role. I'm the United Nations committee member on the rights of persons with disabilities. So I have to go to Geneva like twice a year, spend about 4 or 5 weeks. And besides that, I have to do a lot of work to check what countries are doing on disability issues.
Mm-hmm. Did your qualification as a lawyer play any part in this new role that you're playing?
Not necessarily. You don't really have to be a lawyer or whatever.
But of course, it's helping you.
It does help. It does help, obviously. As long as you're a disability rights activist and you know your issues about disability, you're qualified to be on there. Actually, you are elected to be a member.
Okay.
We get elected every 2 years. There's an election that takes place in New York. I was elected in 2014, which was why I'm on the committee, and that is because Nigeria actually ratified the convention and its optional protocol in 2010.
Now, tell us, this bill that is missing, it can't give you any joy, can it?
No, actually, the bill has been found.
Oh, thank God for that.
I was in Abuja 2 days ago. They sent us the bill to examine and find out if there are any issues. We did the examine, we went through and found out there were lots of issues, lots and lots of issues, lots of gaps, like no provision was made for women and girls with disabilities, which I pointed out. No provision was made for those invisible disabilities like intellectual and psychosocial disabilities. But they said we couldn't do anything because it had already been passed. So, but we're still lobbying the Attorney General of the Federation because obviously everything will come back to his table. So definitely he will see the concerns we have raised on the bill. Well, we thank God that it has been found.
Okay, so how would they say it's already been passed? I mean, the president hasn't assented to it yet.
No, the president can't assent to it until it is passed by the assembly. So it's still at the stage of the assembly.
So that's what I'm saying. So why would they say it's been passed and there's nothing they can do about it again?
Well, if it's been passed, well, I don't think there's anything you can add or delete. So what you need to do is to approach the Attorney General, because the president will obviously send it to him and ask for his comments. So it is at that stage that we can come in and say, oh, look, there are some gaps here and so on. So maybe he could help us look at that.
Okay. Now, Danlami, who sponsored this bill in the first place that there's so many gaps?
Well, it's a private member's bill, and I'm not too sure the senator who who sponsored it. It's a private members bill that was sent to the assembly. So I think maybe there were some. I think they were in a bit of a hurry to pass it. I think they were quite excited, to pass the bill, forgetting that there are issues within it. But I'm sure it will be cleaned up when it gets to the Attorney General's office.
How do you feel that this bill is actually seeing light of day? Because I know that we have had discussions with you in the past where you have complained that Nigeria wasn't doing enough to support people with disability.
We've been on about this bill for about 18 years. And yes, I can still say that Nigeria is not doing enough for the rights of persons with disabilities. The number one issue is the issue of accessibility. Accessibility is a very crucial issue because without it, you cannot live on an equal basis with others in society. For example, the most crucial accessibility issue is the issue of using banks. The banking industry has actually shut many persons with disabilities out of its reach. Those using wheelchairs, for example, you can imagine are attended to outside the bank. You go to a bank, you want to transact, get some money. They bring your money out to you and count it out in the, in the visibility of
ramps.
They don't have They have these doors that, you have to go in, lock yourself and come. Wheelchairs cannot access it. They have denied wheelchair users their right to privacy, right to dignity. I think we may even have to take the banking industry to court.
So, the gaps you said you saw in this bill, besides the fact that you mentioned a couple of them, the non-inclusion of the
women and girls
child living with disabilities, what are the other gaps you saw in it that you think can be taken care of?
Well, some gaps, of course, still remain. Some aspects of accessibility, to roadside walks, transportation, information and communications technologies are not provided for. Awareness raising is a very important issue. We've not begun to even raise awareness about the convention in Nigeria. Hardly anybody knows about the convention in Nigeria.
Indeed.
And Nigeria has ratified its optional protocol so that even if we decide to take the banking industry to court and we get to the level of the Supreme Court, which would mean that we have exhausted domestic remedies, and if nothing is still done, then we can take the Nigeria before the committee.
This
the UN committee.
Before the UN Committee on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities.
Asking, when you talked about awareness, I just wanted to ask you the acceptability, because there's this notion at the back of the minds of practically every Nigerian, so to speak, who is able-bodied, that it feels like the person who's living with disability ought to be kept hidden.
Yes.
Do you think that mindset can be changed?
It is possible to change the mindset if we really begin to work on awareness raising, but we're not doing enough on awareness. For instance, the mindset, for instance, is on autistic children. We tend to think autistic children are bewitched or spirit children or something like that. But I think the mindset can really be changed if we begin to give persons with disabilities some semblance of belonging. And this will actually start with the media. We really need the media to try and portray persons with disabilities in a positive light, give them a positive image. So we will always appeal to the media to be on our side so that we can champion this cause together. We can't do it all by ourselves, definitely.
Okay.
So what is it that people with disabilities want right now?
Well, we want a right to be able to exist in society like any other person, just like you say in the convention, on an equal basis with others. At the moment, persons with disabilities are not regarded as equals with others. when you talk about disability, immediately what comes to your mind is pity, charity, or recipients of charity, or they need this. Like yesterday, for example, I went to the mosque somewhere in Abuja with somebody. When I was coming out, the person decided, oh, here is 1,000 naira for you. I said, no, 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 don't bother about it. He said, oh, please, please take it. I'm not giving you charity, but, well, I had to find a beggar myself and give it to them because, I mean, I don't need it. So we still are looked upon as persons who are in need